The Gemara tells a story about a great Torah scholar whose name was Shimon Hamsuni. And Shimon Hamsuni had developed a theory about every time the Torah says the word es. The word es, or et, in the Torah is a word which doesn't really have a translation. However, Shimon Hamsuni explained that every time it says the word es, it's coming to include something extra. It's coming to teach you an additional halacha, an additional law, an additional detail within the law. For example, the pasuk says, "Kabed es avichad es imecha," honor your father and mother. What does the word es in that sentence come to add? Says Shimon Hamsuni, it's coming to add the fact that you not only need to honor your parents, but you need to honor your older brother as well, to some extent. And that's a way of honoring your parents, is by also honoring and listening to your older sibling. And he went through every time the Torah found the word es, and he found an explanation for each and every one, until he came to a pasuk in this week's parsha. The pasuk says, "Es Hashem Elokecha tira." You should fear your Hashem, our God. And there also the Torah uses the word es. And said Shimon Hamsuni, how is it possible that we can put anyone on par with Hashem? That we can include anything in this obligation to fear Hashem? The Torah says, fear Hashem, and we're going to say, fear another power, another deity, God forbid. There is only one Hashem. Nothing could be included in that. And at that point, he suspended his life's work. He suspended his entire project of trying to explain how each and every time the Torah says the word es, it's coming to include something. Until along came Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva said, you know what? Maybe when the Torah says, es Hashem Elokecha tira, you should fear Hashem your God, it's coming to say that you should also fear Torah scholars. What a beautiful explanation. How much respect do we need to show to our Torah scholars? Our Torah scholars are representatives of Hashem. They connect between us and Hashem. A beautiful, beautiful explanation. Rav Mordechai Gifter asks a perplexing question. He says that why couldn't Shimon Hamsuni think about that? Shimon Hamsuni was the expert on the word es. He explained every other time it says the word es in the Torah. So why was it that Rabbi Akiva was able to come along and explain what this word means when Shimon Hamsuni, the es man, the one who could explain all the s's in the Torah, couldn't explain it? What did Rabbi Akiva see that Shimon Hamsuni couldn't see? And Rav Gifter answers, he says that, you know what Rabbi Akiva was able to see that Shimon Hamsuni couldn't see? Rabbi Akiva saw Shimon Hamsuni. He saw a man that dedicated his life to explaining a part of the Torah and explained almost all of it. He got to the last one. He got to one word that he couldn't explain. And Shimon Hamsuni, instead of saying that this word we can explain in some other way, or saying we could explain all of them except for this word, instead he said, you know what? If I can't explain this word, I see that my whole theory is off. My whole theory is not true, and therefore I'm going to suspend my life's work. I'm not going to continue. Rabbi Akiva came along and he saw that, and he said, that's godly. For a Torah scholar to dedicate his life to learning Torah and to explaining Torah, and specifically one theory within Torah, and then to say, but you know what? If it's not true, then I'm not going to teach something which is not true. I'm going to suspend my entire life's work. Says Rabbi Akiva, that's godliness. To, instead of pursuing your own honor and your own self-interest, to pursue instead just what's the truth, that is something that is truly godly. In fact, the Gemara says Shimon Hamsuni got great reward for the fact not only that he explained it, but when he thought that his theory wasn't true, that he suspended it as well. I once heard an interesting observation that imagine you had a scientist who spent all his life trying to come up with a theory. And he did. He came up with a theory and explanation for something. And then he finds out, you know what? There's someone else who already made the same observation. There's someone else who has the same theory. He'll be distraught. Here I thought that this was something new and novel that I was explaining, and I was going to get all the honor and rewards and prizes for coming up with this amazing theory, but someone else beat me to it. But now imagine that same thing happened in a base medrash, in a yeshiva, amongst Torah scholars. Imagine someone came up with a beautiful theory about how to explain a certain piece of Torah. And then he finds that, you know what? Rabbi Akiva Eiger said the same thing. The Chassam Sofer said the same thing. The Rambam, Rashi, one of the other great Torah scholars that came before us, he said the same thing. The Torah scholar is going to be overjoyed. And this is something which you see on a regular basis when you're in a yeshiva. Why? Because he realizes if the Rambam said the same thing as me, if the Chavetz Chaim said the same thing as me, if Rabbi Akiva Eiger said the same thing as me, then I see there's truth to it. Before, it was my own theory. Now I see that this is actually part of the truth of the Torah. It gives more legitimacy to their theory. Because when a Torah scholar is learning Torah, he's not just in pursuit of honor, he's in pursuit of the truth. And that is godliness. But the truth is, it's not only Torah scholars. Every one of us in our lives has the ability to pursue truth and to pursue godliness. Many times in our life, we have decisions which are easier, and we have decisions which will bring us more honor and more pleasure and more money. But we also have to look at ourselves and say, yeah, but is that the truth? We can pursue what's easy, we can pursue what's beneficial for us, or we can pursue what's true and what's right. And when we give up our own honor, when we give up on what's easy and better for us, then we are like Shimon HaMsuni. We ourselves have that little bit of godliness in us. So let's go throughout our life. We all have difficult decisions. And when we have those difficult decisions, let's try to make those decisions in a way where we're not bringing honor to ourselves, we're bringing godliness to ourselves. Have a great, great Shabbos.